What is up, YouTube? It's great to be here with you guys again. If you don't know, I'm the Deck Talking Devil. I'm your host here on this YouTube channel. Glad you can join me again for yet another episode of the Deck Talking Devil. I'm reading this book here, or at least I wanted to highlight this book. It's one of the books that I'm reading right now. This is The Hidden Origins of Islam. It is a great read. They go into some of the things about Ibn al-Malik, who was Muhammad, the city of Mecca, the Temple Mount, and things of that nature. Now, they bring out some very obscure facts that's not widely known to people who study Islam on a surface level. Things about the first inscription that's on the Temple Mount and things of that nature, bringing out the fact that early Muslims actually used the symbol of the cross on their coins and money and things of this nature to sort of suggest that the early Muslims could have been perceived as only an Arabic-speaking group of Christians that eventually morphed at a later time to become Islam. All right, so very interesting stuff in this book. Highly recommend it to anyone who's studying Islam at more than a surface level. Now, this book is not like one of the previous books, the one where I recommended by Dr. Walter Williams, The Historical Origins of Islam. This is not a book like that. This is a more tedious book to read because it's more scholarly, a more academic book. So if you're reading this book, you really need to devote some time. And I would say read this book alone. Don't try to read it in conjunction with other books that you're reading, because there's a lot of information in this book that you need to be able to dissect and research, cross-reference, and things of that nature. So, what I wanted to talk about today is T.I. Why T.I. is wrong. You guys know T.I., the rapper from Atlanta, I believe. T.I., you can have whatever you like, you know, that guy. He did a video interview on V103 last year in October. All right, and part of what he dealt with was the subject of God. And he stated emphatically that God exists. And that's not my point of contention with T.I. All right. He feels very strongly that God exists. My problem, as it usually is methodology. All right. How did he reach that conclusion? Okay, to say that God exists is fine. Okay. But when you tell me the way that you know God exists, if you go back and watch the video, do a Google search, maybe you can search YouTube and find the video, T.I. on V103, God is real. Okay? T.I. states that God is real, and the way I know he's real is because of changes that has taken place in my life that I know man didn't do, God did it. Then he says, I know God is real because I have conversations with him. And he talks to me. And when he talks to me, you know, this is T.I., I'm quoting him now. You know you getting closer to God when you talk to him and he respond in your own voice. This okay. I'm not making it up. Go back and watch the video. T.I. says, you know God exists, and you know you getting closer to God when you talk to him and he responds, and it's in your voice. T.I. says that when God speaks to you, he's not going to speak to you in some loud voice in a hallway, you know. He's not going to speak to you, you know, in some obvious audible voice. When he speaks to you, it's going to be your voice. He's going to use a voice, I'm quoting him, he's going to use a voice that's the most familiar to you, which is your voice. Here's the problem. First of all, the fact that changes has taken place in your life that you cannot explain does not posit God did it. That's not a logical conclusion. The fact that things have changed in your life and you cannot attribute those changes to natural causes does not then conclude, therefore, God must have did it. This is a problem that we find with Christians a lot. This fallacy in thinking. It's almost the God of the gaps fallacy, or God of the gaps argument, where because you can't tell me what was here before the Big Bang, therefore God must have been before the Big Bang. They use God to fill in the gaps where they cannot explain something logically. This is poor methodology. Okay, I would be fine with you saying there are things that happened in my life that I cannot explain by natural means, and leave it there. But to then posit, because I can't explain them, therefore God exists. That is not a logical argument. It's not sound. It's not valid in any circle of philosophy. All right, this is not a valid argument. This is a fallacy in thinking. So, you know, I can say that black holes are out there. I can't explain to you what the black hole is doing necessarily and what its purpose is. Therefore, God must have put it there. I can't explain to you the purpose of the appendix in the human body. Therefore, God must have put it there. You know, this is illogical. It's irrational thinking. Because you cannot explain something does not attest to the existence of God. It attests and affirms a limitation to your knowledge and understanding. That's it. God does not begin where your understanding ends. So because you cannot grasp or you cannot explain something in natural terms, you cannot therefore posit God. Okay? It's problem number one. T.I. says that, well, you know that you getting close to God when you talk to him and he answers you in your own voice. Whoa, this one is so jacked up in reasoning and logic. I mean, it betrays all logic to follow that line of reasoning there. Because I ask a question, I pray, I speak to the universe. And because I hear myself answering the question, that must be God. Really? Really? So are there people to whom God doesn't speak? Because you'd be hard pressed to find anybody on earth who doesn't ask or seek information and then they resolve to answer their own seeking via their own thoughts. So how then do you determine that voice that you're calling God, who's speaking in your voice, how do you determine or distinguish that from your own thought, just your own everyday thinking? Because you hear yourself thinking your own voice all the time. So what's there to differentiate, oh, this time it must be God speaking to me in my voice? And let's put that aside. Let's go to the Bible, which T.I. affirms or confirms that he actually reads and to some extent practices and believes, not in the normal Christian sense, but he reads the Bible and actually goes to it for answers. So he puts some validity in the book. He does point out, in his defense, he does point out that the Bible's been tampered with, it's been corrupted, there's been plagiarisms, and information in the book has been altered. So to his benefit, to his credit, he points those things out, yet he still utilizes the book for guidance. He still reads the book. And he says he reads this book, okay? But when you know, T.I. words, you know that you're getting close to God when he answers you in your own voice. Right there we have a contradiction. Because what does the Bible say? The Bible says, my sheep know my voice, and a stranger they will not follow. The Bible says his voice is as a rushing and mighty wind. His voice is as still waters. His voice thunders. It clearly describes God's voice, and it never describes it as being your own voice. His voice is distinct from your voice. His voice is distinctly his. So much so that he says the people who follow him knows his voice, and a stranger they will not follow. So I don't know how he can come to the conclusion that you know you getting closer to God when he answers you in your voice. Nah, that just, if you take that perspective and then you interpret that to mean that the God that you seek is indeed yourself, now you're getting somewhere. Now you can justify that particular premise by the fact that you know you're getting close to God when you ask a question and he answers in your voice, because the God whom you're questioning is the one who's answering, and he is indeed the one asking the question. I can take that. I can deal with that. We can go somewhere now. But the fact that I know I'm getting closer to God when he answers, because he'll answer me in my voice, does nothing. That's not logical. Okay, so I got some problems with what he says. Finally, he says that when you open the book, the Bible, to read it, before you even open it, you're supposed to ask for understanding. And then you open the book and read, and you'll get your answers. Who am I asking for understanding? The one who's going to answer me in my voice? So I'm asking me to let me understand the book so that I can answer myself in my voice. All right, the book that he attests has been corrupted. He confirms that it's been tampered with. He confirms that the information's been altered. But I need to ask for understanding before I read it in order to get answers from it. No. I disagree, T.I. You're my partner. I love your music. But on this point, you're wrong. I completely disagree. Understanding would be that the text has been corrupted. The text has been altered. It's been plagiarized. Things have anachronistically been written in. Notes that were never supposed to be incorporated into the corpus of the text has been incorporated into the corpus of the text. It's been changed. There are errors. There are contradictions all throughout it. Why would I still consult this book for guidance and for answers in lieu of it being, or under the auspices that it has been dictated by a divine being who is perfect and inerrant? The answer is not to ask for understanding. The answer is to gain your understanding by fully researching the text, the validity of the text, and going to the original sources from which the text has been taken and reading those texts. So, let me know what you think. If you've seen that video that I'm talking about, what T.I. is on V103 radio show. If you've seen that, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Do you have conversations with God? If you do, does he answer you in your own voice? Really? He don't have a voice of his own? The voice that he said, if you his sheep, you supposed to know? The voice that's described by darn near everybody that he spoke to in the Bible? Nah? Let me know in the comment section below. Hey, this has been the Deck Talking Devil. Until next time, keep learning, my friend.